I'm pleased to sponsor the Alternative Interview.
And so we come to Shrewsbury and Stoke City. At Stoke City, 20,000 people. And you touched on it earlier on, but it's a massive game. It's the biggest day in the club's history. That opportunity to get into the Football League on what would have been at that time 11 years after forming, which would have been a miracle, really. But you're not in the team, so it must have been a painful part of your Aldershot career. Just talk me through what was going on for you at that time.
I think the away game at Shrewsbury that season, I had missed. I can't remember if I was ill or injured or it was work commitments. I can't remember what it was, but I'd missed the away game at Shrewsbury that season, and the boys had done really well to win 2-0. So I don't know if that was in the back of Terry's mind or anything like that. So we had our training session the day before at Stoke City's training ground. So we had the whole training session. It was all good, and then Terry sat everyone down and just kind of read the team out. And at times, Terry's man management was very good, and at times it was non-existent. And, it was one of those where, like I say, I only got dropped twice that season. And to be dropped for that game was something that was heartbreaking at the time. I was absolutely gutted as soon as you read the team out. The boys then went and practiced penalties, and I buggered off back to the coach because I didn't want to be anywhere near anyone at that point. I was so disappointed. So I sat on the coach and sulked while people practiced penalties, which was probably a mistake looking back on then what happened the next day. But yeah, it was just one of those where I just was in disbelief. And it was always in the back of my mind as well, I think, the fact that the boys had won at Shrewsbury and I wasn't part of the team. It was always one of those where I was like, surely he's not going to leave me out just because of that. Having played all season. And to be fair, since January, I'd been struggling a little bit with a groin injury, which turned out to be quite a serious one at the end of that season, which I had to have repaired. So maybe I wasn't quite firing on all cylinders, but I still believed that I could have taken us to promotion that day. I still always had that belief, especially after the season I'd had. So yes, absolutely gutted. So we turned up on the next day, and I'd got my head around it. I was being positive. I was wishing everyone all the best and all that, because at the end of the day, I love my teammates there. And it was just, it was a very disappointing experience. And then obviously the actual experience of the day made that 10 times worse in the end with missing a penalty in the shootout. So absolutely gutted. And like you say, people could be proud of what we'd achieved, but it didn't feel like it straight after that final whistle, unfortunately.
Shrewsbury to get the promotion final underway. Useful one as well. Warburton's in there to go! Aaron McLean scores for Aldershot. And Terry Brown's decision to put the 20-year-old in ahead of the second top scorer this season, Tim Sills, has paid off big time. Ball here, yes! Goal! Dwayne Darby! And he was preferred to today. Tim Sills will come on. Aldershot's second top scorer. What a nice touch there. Tim Sills was devastated at the Aldershot team hotel to be told by Terry Brown he wouldn't start today. But who knows, he might yet be a match winner. So this one in by Miller. Free header for Charles! Oh! Goodness me. Keith Stroud, the referee, has had a couple of looks at the watch, blows the whistle, and the route into the Football League must be decided by a penalty shootout. Warm embrace and handshake between the two managers. First up, And Luke Rogers balloons the first spot kick high over that crossbar. Tim Sills scored in the penalty shootout against Hereford at Edgar Street in the semi-final. So disappointed not to start this promotion final. Can he hold his nerve now against Scott Howie? Sills with the opportunity to make it 1-0. No, Howie decided very early and decided the right way.
Well, I think he's unlucky here, Tim Sills. He's dived the right way, Scott Howie, but the law says you must stay on your line. Scott Howie, a good 2 yards off his line.
And Jamie Tolley does hold his nerve against Hereford in the semi-final. Former Yeovil Town man. Oh, and that too is saved by Howie. Sedgemore. Oh, and that's very cool. Has to score to give them a glimmer of an opportunity. One former Yeovil player has missed. Now can Gosling provide? No! Scott Howie saves his third successive penalty. And this is the penalty that will take Trevor Challis and Shrewsbury back into the Football League. And he makes it!
And brought them up from the Ryman League last year, and they just kept going and going and going all season. Everybody thought that at one stage they were going to drop down, but they just kept going, and they're here right to the death. And you just feel so sorry for the players, but like you say, there has to be one winner and one loser.
Well, they're almost inconsolable.
And I suppose it's a natural reaction, isn't it, to be everybody was flat because it was such a great opportunity, wasn't it, to get to the Football League. But you still had a good season, 20 goals in 46 appearances. You'll probably correct me in a minute because every goal scorer knows exactly how many goals they've scored. And you go into the summer. Little bit of debate, there's a little bit of interest in you from other clubs and that, but it's a big decision to make in your career now because Aldershot go full-time, you've got your full-time job, so you've got to make a decision. Are you going to be a full-time footballer or are you going to carry on with doing what you're doing and maybe find another club who would be a part-time club? So that's a big pressure for you to think about during that summer, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely, and there were all sorts of decisions going on then as well. So, like I say, I've been struggling with a bit of a groin injury, which the club were always good, obviously, with the medical insurance and stuff. So I managed to go up and see into Harley Street in London and see Dr. Gilmore, who suspected that I had what was called Gilmore's groin. So it was the fact that I had a condition that I was seen by the bloke who actually named the condition as well. And it turned out to be that. And so I had an operation that summer. It was the first operation I'd ever had. And it turned out that, yes, I had this big hernia at the top of my groins, but it was actually so bad I'd ripped stomach lining and all sorts going on. So it took me a long time to recover from that. I didn't even start the next season because I was still recovering. I think I only really came back in sort of 3 or 4 weeks into the season. So during that time, while I was recovering, obviously the club transitioned to full-time. There was absolutely no decision at all from my mind about whether I was going to stay part-time and do my job or go full-time. Full-time was my dream. So that decision was really easy. But obviously then there became interest from Bristol Rovers during that summer. So I remember going to one of the events down in the middle of Rushmore Park, I think it was. And a lot of the players had turned up to support the event, and Terry was there and he was kind of talking to me about the interest from Bristol Rovers and things. And I actually went up to Bristol Rovers to look around the ground. I met Ian Atkins, who was the manager there, and looked around the training ground and all of that. And it was exciting. I would have got a lot more money at Bristol Rovers from what they were offering me to what Aldershot were offering me. But there were so many factors in my decision. It was obviously going from part-time to full-time. It was coming back from an injury. It was a season that we just had. Obviously Aldershot was my big local side, who I had very quickly grown in love with, become a supporter of. And for me, if I was going into full-time football, it needed to be right for me. It wasn't about money. it was just about making sure that I was in the right environment to test myself as a full-time footballer. And so in the end, I just kind of always in the back of my mind wanted to stay at Aldershot. And that's what happened. And, you know, I went into contract negotiations again that year with Terry, who again was playing the typical manager card of being an absolute shocker what I was asking for. And I actually think I probably could have got a lot more looking back on it. I mean, he played the game really well, but he kind of said to me, how are you justifying asking for that? And I said, well, Terry, I said I'd get you promotion last year, and I would have done it if you played me in the final. So it's the least you can do. And yeah, so it was just, I think it was just my love for Aldershot. My, you know, what we'd achieved that season, what we could have achieved, and what I thought we still had to achieve, that just made me, you know, my decision much easier for me to just stay at Aldershot. And like I say, I did my rehabilitation there and then came back, and again it was another successful season, so absolutely no regrets.
And yes, it was another season, a playoff season. You scored in a 2-1 win at Woking, Darren Barnard with a 90th minute winner. Darren's a bit like you, he knows every goal he's scored wherever he's been, and I think he's got a map of each day, where he was on the pitch. And there must be a special feeling. I mean, on a serious note, that was an away game at Woking, but what does it feel like as a player? And I spoke to John Grant about this a few weeks ago, to score a goal in front of the East Bank and get the accolades of the fans there behind, everyone's going mad, and that. It must feel special to when you do that.
I mean, yeah, it gives me kind of goosebumps now thinking about it. You know, being completely honest, it was like I say, that first goal against Accrington in front of the East Bank. You know, and I just remember the drum and the atmosphere that stand created. There is no other stand like that in football for me that I've ever known. To create the sort of goosebumps, and you know, normally you're playing in a football match and you don't really hear the fans or pay much attention to them. But there are times when you walk out at the start of a game or you're playing during a game, and you couldn't fail but be lifted by what, you know, was going on in the East Bank at the time. And I think I scored, you know, like a last minute winner a couple of times against Ebbsfleet in front of the East Bank, or Gravesend and Northfleet as they would have been at the time. And yeah, just hitting the net and knowing that you can just run towards the East Bank and just have this sea of noise coming down onto you was just incredible. But it was just, like I say, it wasn't just about scoring. It was just knowing you're walking out, even for the warm-up, or knowing when you walk out a kickoff, you're going to hear this roar from this incredibly partisan crowd with the drum going. And it was something that even like years later when I was coming back, it was just, that was one thing that I was looking forward to more than anything else. And even now when I come back as a fan, or, you know, doing a bit of radio and stuff like that, I just love coming back for the East Bank as much as, you know, any part of the football at all as well. So yeah, like I say, I don't think there's any more special atmosphere that I've ever seen in football than what the East Bank creates. And I will always, you know, I've always said that on social media and things, and that will never change. I think I've been on a bit of a barren run before then as well. Not particularly scoring too many, but luckily Terry kept faith with me. The ball we still believe, so a bit like with the Hereford one, we always believed that we could prevail, and again got so close. So very frustrating, you know, going into those playoffs. Obviously we had the home game again, 6,500 fans there. Absolutely fantastic atmosphere.